During the winter months, the Sacramento Valley is home to millions of birds that have flown south in order to escape the freezing temperatures of their northern homelands. Snow geese and Ross's geese are among the more numerous birds that migrate to the valley each winter. Most snow geese and Ross's geese are all white with black wing tips. However, snow geese actually have two color morphs, white or gray, also called blue. Blue morph geese have bluish-gray plumage. A female goose typically finds a mate that is the same color as her parents, and the bond usually lasts lifelong. Snow geese live an average of 8 years. Snow and Ross's geese, as well as many other kinds of geese, feed in waterlogged soil or shallow water and eat a variety of grasses, plants, and grains. The leftover grains in the flooded rice fields are an excellent and plentiful source of food for the birds. In fact, the geese have thrived and been so successful that they are breeding exponentially, and as a result, they are destroying their breeding grounds. Hunting has been encouraged to decrease their numbers, but so far without success. Ross's geese are distinguishable from snow geese by their smaller size. These beautiful birds have flown here all the way from Siberia. By flooding their fields during the winter months, rice farmers provide valuable feeding and resting places for numerous species of birds. Tundra swans, like ducks and geese, are in the biological family called Anatidae. Birds in the Anatidae family have webbed feet and broad bills. Swans nest on the Arctic tundra and visit the U.S. only during migration in the winter months. Flying at an altitude of 6,000 to 8,000 feet, tundra swans usually fly several hundred miles a day on their migration flights. They fly at about 18 to 30 miles an hour, though with tailwinds, flocks have been clocked at 50 to 60 miles an hour. Swans symbolize grace and beauty. They are associated with love, music, and poetry. In Roman mythology, the swan was sacred to Venus, the goddess of love. In the Vedic literature of India, people of great spiritual attainment are known as Paramahansa, great swans, because of their ability to travel between different spiritual realms. Swans are among the largest of all flying birds. They are larger in size and have larger feet and longer necks than geese, to which they are closely related. Swans usually bond for life. However, separation does sometimes occur, especially in cases of nesting failure. These large birds sometimes rest by turning their heads on their long necks and resting them or burying them in the feathers on their backs. This also helps keep them warm. Like geese and ducks, swans eat aquatic vegetation, small fish, frogs, and worms. They also graze grassy fields. Swans can live 20 to 30 years. They do have some predators in the wild, including humans, wolves, foxes, raccoons, and golden eagles. Sick or injured birds are especially vulnerable to predation. The most common type of webbed feet found in swans, ducks, geese, and other aquatic birds are known as palmate. Palmate means 3 toes are completely webbed, enabling efficient propulsion in water. White-fronted geese migrate along the Pacific Flyway and winter in California's Central Valley, coastal Mexico, coastal Texas, and Louisiana. They breed near the Arctic Circle from Alaska to Canada. Female white-fronted geese lay an average of 5 eggs. White-fronted geese are named for the distinctive white band found at the base of their bills. Like swans and ducks, these birds have webbed feet, which helps them move through water. The Canada goose is native to Arctic temperate zones in North America. It's primarily herbivorous and normally migratory. This wild goose species has a black head and neck, white cheeks, white under its chin, and a brown body. Canada geese are successful living in human-altered areas, like this pond at the Enloe Hospital Health Complex in Chico. They often establish breeding colonies in urban and cultivated areas, which provide food and few natural predators. Their success has led them to often be considered pests because of their depredation of crops, issues with their noise, droppings, and aggressive territorial behavior. The Canada goose is the most widely distributed goose in North America. It's also among the most commonly hunted waterfowl on the continent. During the second year of their lives, Canada geese find a mate. They are monogamous, and most couples stay together all of their lives. However, if one dies, the other might find a new mate. In 2000, the North American population of Canada geese was estimated to be between 4 million and 5 million birds. They can live from 10 to 24 years. The Llano Seco Wildlife Refuge, part of the North Central Valley Wildlife Area, consists of 1,732 acres, comprised primarily of wetlands and grasslands. Swans, geese, and ducks, like these pintail ducks, are members of the Anatidae family. The female northern pintail duck is mottled brown. The pintail has a wide distribution. It breeds in the northern areas of Europe, Asia, and North America. It's migratory and winters south of its breeding range, all the way to the equator. It's probably one of the most numerous duck species in the world. Pintails eat by dabbling, upending in shallow water for plant food. The northern shoveler inhabits wetlands across much of North America. Its elongated, spoon-shaped bill has comb-like projections along its edges which filter out small invertebrates and seeds from the water. These ducks are dabblers and often feed by upending in the water. The female northern shoveler is grayish-brown all over. Some feathers have light edging with dark centers. Pairs are monogamous and remain together longer than pairs of the other dabbling duck species. Northern shovelers migrate in flocks from Canada and the northern United States in a prolonged migration period in both spring and fall. The fall migration begins in September and continues into November. They often migrate south at the first frost in their northern habitat. The Eurasian widgeon is a sporadic visitor to North America. The one seen here likely flew all the way from eastern Siberia and Iceland. The American widgeon is distinguished from the Eurasian widgeon by a broad dark green patch extending from behind its eye to the back of its neck. It's a common and increasingly abundant dabbling duck. Mallards are perhaps the most familiar of all ducks. The male's gleaming green head, black tail curl, and gray flanks make it easily identifiable. They occur throughout North America and Eurasia in ponds, parks, as well as wetlands. The mallard is the ancestor of almost all domestic ducks. Migratory flocks of mallards have been clocked traveling 55 miles an hour. Preening is a bird's way of grooming its feathers. It enables them to remove dust and parasites. In mallards and other ducks, by preening they're also spreading oil over the top layer of their feathers. This helps the feathers remain waterproof. The American coot is often thought to be a waterfowl, but they are not ducks. They're in the rail family, the same avian order as cranes. These birds are only distantly related to waterfowl. Unlike the web feet of ducks and other members of the Anatoti family, coots have broad lobe scales on their lower legs and toes that fold back with each step in order to facilitate walking on dry land. The American coot is a migratory bird that occupies most of North America. It lives in the Pacific and southwestern United States and Mexico year-round. and occupies more northeastern regions during the summer breeding season. The coot is listed under least concern on the list of endangered species. They are common and widespread and sometimes considered pests. Coots are rarely the target of hunters, since their meat is considered not as good as that of ducks. The fishing techniques of the American white pelican demand the shallow, warm waters of lakes, deltas, marshes, and swamps. The ringed-necked pheasant was originally imported from Asia during the 1800s. Of the 40 pheasant species introduced, the ring-necked pheasant is the most popular and best known, especially the male. These birds make their home among the grasslands and along the roadside. The ring-necked pheasant is one of the most popular game birds in the Sacramento Valley. The American bittern is a secretive marsh bird of the heron family. Ibis are a group of long-legged wading birds that inhabit wetlands, forest, and plains. They have long, downturned bills and often feed as a group, probing mud for food, usually aquatic invertebrates. Ibis's nostrils are located at the base of their bills, allowing them to breathe even when their bills are submerged in water. They are related to herons and storks and can survive 8 to 15 years in the wild and up to 25 years in captivity. The great blue heron is a large wading bird, common near the shores of open waters and wetlands over most of North America. This stately bird hunts by standing motionless or wading with slow, deliberate steps, waiting for fish, vertebrates, or invertebrates to come within range of its long neck and blade-like bill. The death blow is delivered with a quick thrust of the sharp bill, and prey is swallowed whole. Although they hunt predominantly by day, blue herons may also be active at night. They are solitary or small group foragers, but they nest in colonies of few to several hundred pairs. Pair bonds only last for the nesting season, and adults form new bonds each year. The heron is a symbol of strength, beauty, and patience in China, whereas in Africa it talks to the gods. Egyptian people honor herons as the creator of light, and Native American tribes make it the symbol of wisdom. The blue heron is the largest heron on the continent, standing between 3 and 4.5 feet tall, and having a wingspan of 5.5 to 6.5 feet. They live an average of 15 years in the wild. Like the blue heron and the American bittern, the great egret is a long-legged wader and a member of the heron family. Both the heron and the egret are year-round residents of the Sacramento Valley. The great egret, or great white egret as it is also known, stands about 3.5 feet high when its neck is extended and has a wingspan of nearly 5 feet. The great egret's yellow bill and black legs and feet are characteristics that identify this large bird. Great egrets live in fresh water, brackish, and marine wetlands. They are slightly smaller than the blue heron. They hunt in classic heron fashion, standing immobile or wading through wetlands, seeking to capture fish or invertebrates with a deadly jab of their long yellow bills. Nearly wiped out in the U.S. in the late 1800s, when its plumes were sought for fashion, these birds made a comeback after early conservationists put a stop to the slaughter and protected their colonies. As a result, the great egret became the symbol of the National Audubon Society. Unlike great egrets, which have yellow bills and black legs and feet, snowy egrets have black bills and yellow legs and feet. Snowy egrets are also smaller than great egrets. Although some red-winged blackbirds do migrate, those in the western United States are year-round residents. This flock of blackbirds seem to fly through the air as if in a choreographed dance. However, ornithologists tell us that the unified movement is created by each bird attending to and responding to only 6 or 7 birds flying closest to it. In spite of this mundane explanation, the flock's movements are fascinating to watch. When not flying or feeding, some of the birds perch on the electrical wires running through the valley. They look like musical notes on a staff. Sandhill cranes are the most abundant cranes worldwide. Their total population is estimated at over 650,000. They migrate from northern North America and Siberia. They can cover the ground at 35 miles an hour and travel up to 250 miles a day. Their journey from Alaska to California takes them 3 to 4 days. During migration in winter, unrelated cranes come together to form so-called survival groups. Such groups sometimes number in the thousands. Sandhill cranes exhibit extravagant dancing behavior. While dancing has an important role in courtship, it's performed outside the breeding season by individuals of all ages, and is thought to aid motor development, counteract aggression, relieve tension, and strengthen the pair bond. Sandhill cranes are one of the oldest surviving bird species. The oldest unequivocal sandhill crane fossil is 2.5 million years old. Probing with its bill, the sandhill crane's diet includes primarily seeds and cultivated grains. They also eat berries, tubers, vertebrates, and invertebrates. Interestingly, these birds follow the same route during migration each year and stop in the same spots to eat. In addition to being resting and feeding places for many species of birds during the winter months, the wetlands, grasslands, and flooded rice fields of the valley are habitat for several other species of wildlife. These black-tailed deer inhabit the area in and around the Sacramento Wildlife Refuge. Black-tailed bucks drop their antlers between February and March. They start regrowing them in April. Black-tailed deer are a subspecies of mule deer and are quite common in California. Deer communicate with the aid of scent and pheromones from several glands located on their lower legs. They have excellent sight, smell, and hearing and their large ears can move independently of each other. The California ground squirrel is common in the western United States. They live in burrows, some of which are occupied communally, but each individual has its own entrance. Black-tailed jackrabbits are not actually rabbits, they're hares. Hares are larger than rabbits, and they typically have longer hind legs and longer ears. This western pond turtle is another resident of the Sacramento Valley National Wildlife Refuge. It's the only native freshwater turtle and is listed as being of special concern in California because it faces serious threats from habitat destruction. Blackneck stilts inhabit wetlands in the western United States to parts of South America. They wade in shallow waters to capture their meals of aquatic invertebrates and fish. They plunge their heads into water in pursuit of food and will herd fish into shallow water to trap them. They will only swim or dive when under duress. The bald eagle is a bird of prey that is unique to North America. It dwarfs most other raptors, including the turkey vulture and the red-tailed hawk. The bird's white head makes it look bald, but actually the name comes from the Old English word balde, meaning white. They don't develop their distinctive white head and tail until they've gone through several molts and are 4 to 5 years old. These amazing birds can soar over 10,000 feet high, and their great eyesight lets them see fish up to a mile away. When they attack, they drop down at up to 100 miles an hour, snag a fish with their feet, and fly off to eat. Red-tailed hawks are much smaller than bald eagles. They are the most common hawk in North America. They are often seen perched on roadside poles, telephone poles, or up in trees. Although adults can usually be recognized by their trademark reddish-brown tail, the rest of their plumage can be quite variable. They can range from blackish to rufous brown to nearly white. Red tails are found in any kind of terrain that provides both some open ground for hunting and some high perches. The red tail does most of its hunting by watching from a high perch and swooping down to catch prey in its talons. When soaring or flapping its wings, it typically travels 20 to 40 miles an hour, but when diving may exceed 120 miles an hour. White-crowned sparrows appear each winter over much of the southwestern lowlands of North America. They are one of the most common winter sparrows, and they typically occur in flocks which may involve more than 100 birds. They forage on the ground in open areas with sheltered thickets nearby for cover. They eat seeds, grass, buds, fruit, and insects. The western meadowlark is a permanent resident throughout its range of western and central North America. It has distinctive calls which are melodious and flute-like. They forage on the ground or in low vegetation and mainly eat insects, although they will consume seeds and berries. The black phoebe is a flycatcher of the western United States. They sit in the open on low perches near water and make short flights to catch insects. The American kestrel is the smallest and most common falcon in North America. Its primary mode of hunting is by perching, on overhead power lines, for example, and waiting for prey to come by. They also hunt by hovering in the air with rapid wing beats. The turkey vulture, sometimes called a buzzard, is a scavenging bird of prey. It's the most widespread of the New World vultures. It feeds almost exclusively on carrion and finds its food using its keen eyes and sense of smell, flying low enough to detect the gases produced by the beginning of the process of decay in dead animals. In flight, the turkey vulture uses thermals to move through the air, flapping its wings only infrequently. When they aren't populated by chattering birds, the wetlands, like these that are part of the Sacramento National Wildlife Refuge, are quite picturesque and peaceful. In late afternoon, the sun sinks below the coast range, the light fades, and the air takes on a more golden hue. As if responding to some previously arranged signal, birds of every type take flight and leave the wetlands. They're headed to their nighttime feeding areas. This event should definitely be included on any list of the wonders of the natural world. By late February and early March, most of the migrating birds will have returned to their northern breeding grounds, and the spectacle will be over for another year. The sky will be mostly quiet and empty of the thousands of birds. For those of us interested in birds and the natural world, witnessing this event is one of the most amazing and thrilling experiences. It's definitely one of the highlights of winter in the Sacramento Valley.